Here we go. So this is 3.1.4, multiple representations of a portion. Go ahead and open your composition notebooks. We're doing classwork in our notebooks through this video. Go ahead and look on the left-hand side of your next fresh page of your graphing composition notebook, and then title it 3.1.4, multiple representations of a portion. Okay. So it says 3.1.4, what is the connection? You've been working with various ways to represent portions of a whole, right? Remember, portions is a part of something. We're thinking parts. These multiple representations are shown in the diagram at the right. It is called a web. This is our portion web. We are going to be using this a lot. I use it a lot with my 7th graders, and we'll be revisiting it a lot. And because we need to know how we can like interchange these, right? So whatever number you have, you can represent it as a fraction. You can represent it as a decimal. You can represent it as a percent. You can represent it as words or pictures, and they are all the same value. Okay, for some problems, you might prefer to work with a percent, while other times it might make sense to use a fraction or a decimal. Today, you will represent portions in multiple ways and consider which of them allows you to work most efficiently. So as you work on today's lesson, use these questions with your team as you're thinking on your own because of distance learning. How can I represent the same portion? How do I know the portions are equivalent? Equivalent meaning equal, the same. Okay, so let's go ahead and write, this is 3-55. We're going to start with that one. We've got 2 problems today. Okay, I'm going to box that. It says sometimes it's easier to compare. And remember, with these videos, you can pause, you can rewind at any time, and that's the beauty of these videos. So please take it at your own pace. Sometimes it's easier to compare portions when they are written in a particular form. For example, this number right here, 25 hundredths and 8 tenths, can be compared easily when they're both drawn on a 100% block or both in percent form. In this problem, you will work with all the representations on the web and find ways to change one representation into another, right? So we're going to get familiar with these different representations: fraction, decimal, percent, words, picture, and we're going to eventually be able to be familiar with the fact that we can rewrite them in any way and still have the same value, still have the same meaning. Okay, so for each portion described below, what we're going to do is we're going to build the portion on top of 100 block. We're going to draw the representation, and then we're going to write it as a percent, fraction, decimal, and words. Okay, so all of these. And the web part, when we draw it, I'm not the best at drawing these little curves or anything like that. So however you need to, when I post it on your tests for Desmos or anything like that, it will be more straighter lines. Okay. So when we look at this one for part A, right, this is 3 tenths and 1/100th. Okay, so let's remember that whatever I write, you should be writing as well. Okay, the first thing we can do is we can build it on top of a 100% block. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the resource pages to give you, so we're going to have to draw this out. So we're going to go ahead and draw. This might take a lot of space, but that's okay. We're going to go 10 across, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We're going to go 10 down, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And I'm going to go ahead and draw my hundreds block there. Okay, that's okay if we're taking a lot of space. Right, so we remember that the perimeter going around is 10, 10, 10, 10, and the area, this is where we get our 100 or 100%, is 10 times 10, or 10 sets of 10, which would be 100. Okay, and feel free, if you don't believe me, count them. Right, let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, perfect. The way we would draw this out is we would just shade it in, right? So if I look at 3 tenths, and you can go left to right or up and down, whichever one you want, I would draw in 3 tenths right here, right? So 3 sets of 10, and 1/100th. I'm going to draw that in a different color right there. Right? So there's that 1 right there. Okay, make it as messy or as neat as you need it to be. Actually, don't make it as messy as you need it to be. Make it as neat as you need it to be. Okay, then it says write the portion as a percent, fraction, decimal, and as a description in words. So this one's already written in words. The other way you can write this is, and let's do this in the web diagram right here. So that would have gone in the center. The other way you could have written it is 3/10 and 1/100. So we can write it as 31/100. And I skipped some lines so that you can write it there. Right, 31/100. The easiest way that I can do this one is the decimal. So the decimal right here, you write it how you say it, right? So you would write 31/100 right there, right? Knowing that that's the 100th place, right? Percent, to go towards percent, and we have a toolkit on this. To go to percent, we always, always, always multiply by 100, right? So 31/100, if you do this, that will give you 31% right there. Right? And then the fraction is also how you say it, right? So 31/100 would be 31/100. And again, simplify if you need to. This is the bare minimum that we're looking at, that first fraction, right? And I'm drawing arrows both ways because notice, I mean, not the most perfect triangle, but notice that you can rewrite it any way and it'll still give you the same value, okay? So that's for part A. Let's go ahead and do part B. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and do part B here. Sorry, you're going to have to draw these 100 blocks again. Right? It says 56/100, right? So this is how I read it. This is how I'm going to build it. And this would be 56 out of 100. Go ahead and draw that hundreds block again. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Going down. All right, here we go. So this is my 10 by 10 again, right? And it's 56/100, so 56 out of 100, right? So what I'm going to go ahead and do, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to color it right there. This is my 50. Right? And then 6/100 would just be 6 more. So I'm going to go in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it will be colored in like that. Of course, if we simplify for any fraction or anything like that, we can actually draw smaller blocks. And I'll show you with the next ones how to do that, okay? Or in our toolkits. Okay, so here we go. This one, again, 56/100. I start with my decimal. Oops, different pen. This is 56/100. Again, to go from fraction to percent. Sorry. Oh my goodness, sorry. From decimal to percent every single time times 100. Every single time times 100. This will give me 56%. Okay. Going here, right, I can write the words. So 56/100, I'm going to write 56/100. Right? And remember the THS afterwards, that means that that is the decimal, right? If we said 5600, it would be way bigger. It would be 5,600. Okay, for our fraction, 56/100 would be 56/100. And I always say to start there, right? Then I can simplify, right? So if you leave it like this, you are majority of the way. But to make it better, we're going to simplify. We're going to divide by our giant 1. So let's do 2 first, right? So 2/2 would give me my giant 1. This will give me my giant 1, and we're going to keep going with this, right? So this right here, 56 is 28/50, right? I can still divide if I divide again. You can divide by bigger numbers too. I know that I can actually divide both of these by 4. So I try to divide by 4/4, which means, right? Oh, not 4. Not 4. Excuse me. The original one was 4. Okay, so if I did this again, If I did 2 over 2, right, let's just start there. Smaller numbers, I always work like this. This will give me 14 over 25. And I can't divide anything anymore because 25 you can only divide by, excuse me. You can only divide by 5s and 25 and 1. All right, so that would be my simplified fraction. Okay, that's what I would put on the top of the web, right? And again, notice that all of these are interchangeable, so I can rewrite in any way, and I can also, right, use them to help math be easier for me. All right, for C, I want you guys to try it. So pause this video right here, try it yourself, and then check back with me. Okay, so here we go. This is 21/25. Go ahead and draw my hundredths blocks again. Right? So this one's a little bit trickier because, right, I got 25th, but my block is out of 100, right? So there's a couple ways that I can do it. One, I can split this into 25ths, right? So if I did this, and then I could just double over every single time. So this is 5 by 5. And then the way I could do this is go like this, and I could just draw 21. So this is 5, 10, 15, 20, and 21. And I can do that, and I can copy that to every single one. So 21, 21, 21, like that. If you're doing the web, and you need to draw a picture for it, you can just draw one of these boxes, right? 21 out of 25. So you can draw a box of 25, shade in 21 pieces, done. You don't have to do this 4 times. The other way you can do this is if I need this, if I need this to be out of 100, then I think, how do I go from 25 to 100? I multiply it by 4, right? Whatever I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator, and oh, look, another giant 1, right? So 21 times 4 will give me 84, and hopefully, if you count your shaded blocks, that's also 84. Okay, so that's that part. All right, moving on. So 21 out of 25. Okay, the way to do this, right, the works every time way. So one way you can do it is you can get your denominator to be 100, right? So 84 hundredths would be my decimal. So 0.84. The way that you do it every single time, that works every single time, is you take your numerator, divide it by the denominator. You take your top number, divide it by the bottom number. Right? So if you look at this, it would also look like this, right? 20 divided by 25, right? If you're doing long division for that. Okay, and that should still give you the same decimal. 21 divided by 25 gives you 84 hundredths as well. Okay, so same thing again one more time. If I go from decimal to percent, I always multiply by 100. And I love this one because it's the same every single time. Multiply by 100. This gives you 84%. And my words would just be, you can write 21/25. I like to write the decimal. I prefer the decimal, so I would write 84 hundredths. With that TH right there, right? And then remember that all of these are interchangeable. Okay, go ahead and do that last one on your own again, and then check back, and I'll put the answer in Edpuzzle for you to see. Okay, so it says place each of the portions described in parts. Actually, let me go ahead and do this one for you so that you have all of them. All right, I'm out of room. All right. So let's go ahead and do this for D. Still on that same problem. D is 3%. So again, if I draw my hundredths blocks, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'm going to complete my square. Sorry, if we were in class, I would have given you the page that has all of these already on it. Okay, so luckily for this one, you only have to color in 3. 1, 2, 3. And notice how I went left to right instead of up to down, up and down. It doesn't matter. You can just draw 3 of them in there, right? If you wanted to do this, that's kind of weird, but it still gives the same thing, right? So you could do that. You can do 1, 2, 3, but it doesn't really, it's a lot easier if you organize it and then you can read it a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with this one. Okay, there's my 3%. So again, in the words, if you did this, go ahead and check your work. This is 300ths. 300ths, right? So it's 3 out of 100 if we're looking at this. If I were to divide 3 divided by 100, or if you just read it, it's 300ths, right? Remember, this is the hundredths place, right? So you would write 300ths. Okay, and then again, remember, they already gave us the 3%, right? So if I go from decimal to percent, I multiply by 100. If I go from percent to decimal going that way, I just divide by 100, right? So again, look at what direction it's going. So you're like, oh no, the other ones were multiplied by 100. You're right, but it was going to the right, right? So if I'm going to go ahead and write this one right here, if I go to the right, it's times 100. If I go to the left, if I go to decimal, then it's divided by 100. All right, and then we remember that all of these are interchangeable. So going back and forth, right? Okay, so there it is. It says place each of the portions. So let's go ahead and put E here. In our next part, it says place each portion describes in parts A through D on a number line. The number line should range from 0 to 1 and be marked with tenths, right? So let's go ahead and draw this. Here's 0, and it says tenths. So 1/10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There is my 1 whole. This was 10 over 10 or 1 or 100% if we look at this like this, right? This is 0%. So this is 1/10. This is 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, or 5/10, or 50%, 7, 8, 9, and 10, right? So go ahead and place them where you think they should be, and we have to estimate a little bit. Okay, so here we go. 31/100ths is the first one, so I'm going to go ahead and place that right there. This is 31/100ths. Right? For A, this is A, right? The other one that I'm going to do is B, which is 56/100ths. This is a little bit more than half, so I'm going to go ahead a little bit to the right of half. This is B. This is 56/100ths. Keeping on going, the 21/25ths for C is was 84/100ths. So I'm going to go ahead and 5, 6, 7, 8. This is C. This is 21/25ths, right? And then the last one was D, which is 3%, and that is going to go like right there, right? So remember, 1/10 would be 1/10 as a decimal would be 10%. This would be 3% right here. This is D. Okay, so check your work, see if you got that. The last part, it says, which representation, fraction, decimal, or percent, is most convenient to use when placing values on a number line? Now, if I looked at this fraction, it doesn't really look like any of these fractions. Decimals don't really look like any of these decimals. Percents are there too. It's up to you which one's most convenient. But I would have to say that when you compare it, or when you put it on a number line, or when you're using multiple numbers, it's a lot easier to have the same type. Right? So if I have fractions and I'm working with fractions, then I need to convert all of it into fractions. If I have mostly decimals, I'll probably convert the last one into decimals. Okay? So give me your opinion on that. Okay, last one. Here we go. So it says complete each of the following computations. And yes, we are skipping forward. Complete all of the computations using your understanding of decimal place value and representations of portions. So go ahead and try these first. And then come back to us because we have already gone through decimals. So you should be a little bit familiar with it, but we can check our work afterwards. Okay, here we go. So 3-58 for A. right? We remember there are 3 steps when adding and subtracting decimals. So let's write adding and subtracting decimals, right? There's 3, I think there were 3 steps. I can't remember. Let's go through the one. So one was line up the decimals, line up the decimals, right? And the step 2 was fill in zeros for placeholders. And 3 was add or subtract. And then bring down the decimal. I think that was a step 2. Bring down the decimal. Okay, so those were your steps. Let's go ahead and do A and check your work to see if we did it right. So if it's 0 and 375 thousandths minus 2 tenths. So I'm going to minus 2 tenths. 1, line up the decimals, right? So that's step 1. Let me color code it for you. 1, line up the decimals, right? 2, right here. 2, fill in 0. So I'm going to fill in a 0 so that we have equal place values. Step 3, add or subtract and bring down the decimal. So let's go ahead and do 3 here. We're going to bring down the decimal right there. 5 minus 0 is 5. 7 minus 0 is 7. 3 minus 2 is 1. And it's also nice to have that 0 in the front. Okay. For B, so this answer would be 175 thousandths. Right, this is your thousandths place. This 2 tenths can be written as 20 hundredths, 200 thousandths. They are the same value. Okay. B, this is 18 and 6 tenths, tenths place, plus, right, 0, and this is 4 hundredths. So line up the decimals, right? There is a 0 right there. I don't know why it's not writing. There we go. Okay, so step 1, line up the decimals just like that. Step 2, hopefully you're just watching because you have done this already when we tried it. Step 2, fill in zeros for placeholders. Now, what I do is I have one here. Okay. Step 3 is add or subtract, bring down the decimals. Now, I can't do, right, 0 minus 4, so I'm going to borrow 10 from here because this was 60. So borrow 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 5 minus 0 is 5. Bring down the decimal, 18, bring that down too. This is 18 and 56 hundredths. The last one for C, this is 2008. Just kidding. 2 and 8 thousandths minus 46 hundredths. So 0.46, right? And we're going to go ahead and follow our steps again, right? So step 1, line up the decimals. Boom, boom, decimals are lined up. Step 2, fill in the zeros for each of the placeholders. There's a placeholder because I didn't have a thing there, right? Step 3, add or subtract, bring down the decimal. So I'm going to bring down the decimal here. Boop, bring that down. Right, I'm going to subtract. 8 minus 0 is 0. This one, I've got 2 whole, right? So then this would be 10. But I can't do that, so I need to borrow it again. This is 9, and this is 10. Right? This turned into 1. 10 minus 6 is 4. 9 minus 4 is 5. 1 minus 0 is 1. Your answer for this one is 1 and 540 thousandths, or, right, if the zero's at the end after the decimal, you can drop it. So this is 1 and 54 hundredths, depending on if you need to round. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. A little bit of review, a little bit of new things. We're going to do a toolkit on this too, so there's more practice. And just know that we will keep on practicing. Make sure you get to this end of this video, and that's it. Thank you.